In this video, we're going to talk about what to do after seeding, when to stop watering, what about fungal control, and do we have fungus, and what's the best to apply for that will not hurt the seedlings. We're also going to talk about fertility and what to do to get these areas filled in. And for those of you, particularly in the north, I'm talking zone 4, 5, ballpark, dormant seeding, we're going to talk about that. What to do about these spots that did not come in, particularly after this really dry, hot, late summer when we were doing our overseeding. I'm going to cover all of that. I'm getting a lot of questions on the Facebook page, and I'm going to address that in this video now. So let's get started. Weed control. I'm getting a lot of questions on the Facebook page. You guys can cruise over the Facebook page, become a member there. Take a picture of your yard. I generally try to look at the Facebook page and your all's comments that you leave down below. Please leave them. I try to look at them about every morning so I can respond to folks in a timely manner. I try to keep things timely on my Facebook page, on my YouTube channel. That's why I'm doing this now. Generally, when can you treat after you've seeded? After the second mowing of your turf. You need to mow it 2 times, and I'll leave the actual screenshot of this, the label, what it says, and I will leave the herbicide that I think you need to go with, and that's SpeedZone. I have it on my Amazon storefront, herbicide post-emergent ideas list. You guys can cruise over there and check it out. Use it for, I got my ideas list. I've got everything, seed, fertilizer, anything we need. Post, pre-emergent herbicides. I got tools, I got irrigation, I got everything else. Several reasons why I like SpeedZone. One, in the fall is a great time to treat for perennial broadleaf weeds like clover. It's putting its resources down into the roots. If you're doing this in the spring, it's not an effective a control on clover because it's putting its resources up in the leaves to get ready for summer. Okay, so it can go ahead and do the photosynthesis and whole 9 yards. Right now, it's overwintering, so it's putting all those resources, and it'll take your herbicide, SpeedZone, down there with it, and it'll kill it. There's one. 2, SpeedZone works very, very good at cold temperatures. I actually fiddled around with this last late winter, put it down when air temperatures were 19 degrees at night, and I actually got some control. Took a long time to see it, but I did see some chlorosis out of it. It gives you an idea how well this works when you are getting really cold weather. You can put it on later on in the year. There again, that second mowing is when you want to put this on. You don't want to put it on prior to that on new seedlings. Third thing I like about it, you can seed 7 days after putting this on. So those of you in the lower transition zone, I'm talking like myself, zone 6B and lower, clear down to zone 9, you could put this out. And if you want to go out another round of seeding in some of these thin spots, get the thin spots in a little bit, also get into dormant seeding for you guys in the north here in a little bit. That didn't come in, you guys can put this out, whack any weeds that come up, and then turn around 7 days and seed right into it. So, and it's easy to put out. You can put this out with orthodilin spray. I actually have a video on the orthodilin spray. There again, I have it on my, I'll leave a link right here. First one was my post-emergent herbicide list. This is my link to my backpack or my sprayer list. If you guys want to check that out, you can put it out on orthodilin spray. Thing costs around $15 and you put it out. There's directions right there on the SpeedZone label. You can put this out. Tough spots in your yard that die out every year. I'm going to touch on that just briefly. I have a whole video on that. These are areas that die out year after year after year in the exact same area. It's almost assured to be a soil-related issue. This is actually the area that I fixed on that yard. I got a little spot right there that I just put some seed down. And this is a process. Anyway, so I go through in that video of a soil amendment that I recommend to you. Also, if you take a core out and you fill that area with sand, break up that soil and reestablish its structure. I go over all that in the video, and that's something that you can do definitely when you're overseeding here in the fall. Now, let's talk about watering and when to stop watering. To know when to stop watering your yard after you're seeded it, you really need to understand the process of seed germination. I'm going to go over that real quick. Basically, what you're doing is when water gets into the seed, and I talk about this in the pre-germination video, it's one of the things that you can do when you pre-germinate seed. Essentially what you're doing, you're soaking it, you're getting that water down into that seed, and that starts to stimulate the enzymes in that seed and starts that germination process. Seed both has enzymes that both start the process of germination and actually prevent the process of germination. Talk about that in my video about drought, about this late summer when we were trying to overseed, about how there's actually enzymes that prevent it from germinating. Water gets into that seed. Then that starts to stimulate all those enzymes that start the germination process. And when that starts, the primary root comes out, the primary shoot comes out. And what happens is it overall matures. And you have some starches within that seed called the endosperm. Okay, big Beavis and Butthead laugh there because I said endosperm. Anyway, and it uses that up. Just like a chicken and egg, there's actually, to mature that chick, very similar thing. Basically what it does, when that endosperm is completely gone, then that plant has to have that root down into the soil, and that's when it starts absorbing your nutrients. And that's going to be the important part of fertilizer, what I'm going to talk about here in a second. Anyway, so now you've got that root down in the soil. But as soon as it hits the soil, it's not going to absorb a whole heck of a lot of water. What I have seen, when that leaf, the primary leaf is about an inch tall, you've got some moderate to decent rooting to where you're not going to have to water it 3 or 4 times a day. You can start backing it off quite a bit. Now, there's something about water you need to understand. Evapotranspiration, Evaporation and transpiration in the plant. There are several, this can actually be calculated. Day length has a part of that. Wind has a part of that. Sun, and we're getting in the day length on that. And overall soil texture. Okay, so since our days are shorter and since our sun is a little weaker, you're actually not having nearly as much need for water like you will in July. So rule of thumb, when it gets to the 1 inch, there again, rule of thumb, when it gets to the 1 inch height, you could probably step back your water and probably get away with watering every couple of days. Go out there, find you a dry spot, that typically at one of the more difficult spots in your yard, just make sure it doesn't wilt. And that's going to be your pretty good barometer. Now, there's one thing. There are soil water probes that you can get. Actually, I had this irrigation. Rainpoint had a irrigation. I did a review of it. That actually had a water meter in it, electronic water meter to actually look at on the phone. Pretty sophisticated stuff, pretty cool stuff. I've actually used it a good bit. There's also, I guess, some manual ones. I got this one. It's a pH probe, water. You can kind of put it in the ground, go out there and look at it real quick. And you don't have to put it very deep, about roughly in the neighborhood of probably 1.5 to 2 inches deep. That gives you an idea of the soil moisture. The nice thing about the Rainpoint, you're talking a little bit of money there, but you can see it on your cell phone. Mowing grass is not that big a deal. We'll talk about that right now. You just make sure during that process, the same day you seed or the day after you seed, you're probably exhausted from seeding. I know it's hard work. Sharpen your blades real good or go out and get you a new blade. That is when you want to go ahead and mow that grass when it gets to at least the 3-inch height of cut. I'm talking, and that's for everything. Yeah, it's bluegrass, tall fescue, the whole 9 yards. Ideal mowing height for tall fescue is going to be anywhere from basically 2.5 to 4 inches. Bluegrass and ryegrass is going to be 2 to 4 inches ballpark. Now, I will say this. Early, I would go on the low end of that. And the reason being is I'm talking to 2.5 inches. Technically, and don't get crazy with this, but I'm going to tell you a little trick, if you will. The lower you mow your grass, the more horizontal growth you'll get out of it. You don't want to stress it, and you don't want to go below that 2-inch height to cut. You probably do this on bluegrass, but keeping it at that 2.5-inch height of cut, it'll have more tendency to spread laterally. So do keep that in mind. It is a trick. Now, as far as mowing, particularly you guys in zone 4 and 5, I'm talking Wisconsin, probably down the Chicago area, whatnot. You really want to go into winter. Almost everything. Kentucky bluegrass probably at that 3-inch height to cut, maybe 3.5. Tall fescue ryegrass probably 4-inch height to cut. And as I said in my video, I can't remember which one it was, but I'll put it right here. I'll say it in this one. When you get through the spring, and you have any snow mold, any desiccation, what can happen is if you don't get any snow cover, and I've had this happen particularly in transition zones, this happens quite a bit, is you'll get a lot of wind, it'll be real cold, and it'll desiccate that leaf. It'll actually bring the water out of it. If your grass is cut fairly tall going into spring, Okay, you can go in and remove all that. You can remove a lot of the snow mold. I talk about that actually in my fall prep video. That's what it was. So do keep that in mind. Fertility, getting a lot of questions on when do I fertilize? Or what do I put down? Or what do I do? Basically what you're wanting to do is fall fertilization on cool season grasses. And that's primarily what we're dealing with here is cool season grasses. I am big on polymer-coated ureas. I have a fertilizer video where I go through the different coatings, the stabilized products, and the SGN, the size of the products, and how to read a fertilizer bag. And if you watch that video, you will be able to go out and buy fertilizer and you know what you're getting instead of just guessing. You get that video, you'll know just about everything you need to know in order to get a good fertilizer. Sulfur polymer-coated urea is good. Polymer-coated urea, I like it better. The difference between the two. Sulfur polymer-coated urea is basically a sulfur-coated urea with a coating of polymer on it, a very thin coating of polymer on it that only protects you during the manufacturing and bagging and distribution process. Once when it gets on your yard, basically the bacteria breaks down the sulfur. Once when the bacteria breaks it down to a point, you get a little bit of water in there, that urea expands and pops that sulfur coating. Again, I go through that in the video. So it's really not a temperature-dependent release. It releases based on biological activity and water. Polymer-coated urea is a release based on the temperature. For example, where this is beneficial, you put out your polymer coating mid-fall. It gets cold it just gets blue-ass cold, stays cold until second week in January. It's not going to release hardly anything. Then you get a January thaw, and we've all seen this in the transition zone. Is you get a January thaw, gets up in the 60s, mid-60s, and suddenly, wow, the grass is growing. It'll release then. So you're getting that extra growth and your grass is greening up, and you're getting that green in during January when you need it. For when you're coming into spring, it takes all the guesswork out of it. When am I going to fertilize? Doesn't matter. It's going to do it automatically for you. It's all automatic when you use a polymer-coated product. So that's why I'm big on it. And you can really put a polymer-coated product out twice a year and pretty much be done on cool season grasses. And I would say that's probably true for all zones. I'm talking, there may be some of you guys growing tall fescue down in zone 9, but clear up to 14. If you guys wondering what I'm talking about, here's a USDA map as far as plant hardiness zones. Zone 4, zone 3 is probably way up in basically border Canada and the United States, all the way down goes, I think, zone 11, clear down the tip of Florida, tip of Texas. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. So the lower the number, the higher north you are. So anyway, it takes a lot of that out of it. You can go out with a polymer-coated product in the spring when you aerify, have an aerification video. Check that out, and you can go out this time of year, and you're pretty much done with your fertilizer applications. That's why I like polymer-coated products. There again, I like that Stay Green Max 3003. That one's a good one. If you want to get something there at Lowe's, it is a stabilized methylene urea. It's got a little bit of sulfur-coated urea in it, which is fine, but it also has about half of it, about 7%, about a third of it's polymer-coated urea. Then on my Amazon storefront, I have a 21714. It's half polymer-coated urea, half water-soluble urea. So you are going to get a big kick out of that initially, which is actually not a bad deal for a newly seeded yard to really get things growing. If you put this out at about that 1 inch height, okay? I like doing it then, particularly if you use the starter fertilizer. If you didn't use any fertilizer at seeding, as soon as that thing starts to pop, then I'd put my fertilizer down, okay? You can either put it down at seeding or do it, right before that seed pops if you didn't use a starter fertilizer. Or wait till about that 1 to 2 inch height to cut, okay, or the height of the plant, then put down your nitrogen fertilizer for the year. So that's as far as the timing. But I'll leave a QR code right here if you want to check out that 21714, particularly you guys who have done a soil test, need some potassium, and particularly most starter fertilizers don't have potassium in them. Need some potassium, that's got some potassium in it. Those are the two I recommend for fertilization in the fall and particularly after overseeding to get things going and get things green. Fungal control when you're seeding or when your seeds are coming in after they've germinated. The main thing is after they've germinated. Basically what you have as far as your options for home lawn use that are labeled for home lawn use are all systemic fungicides, meaning they are not contact. So if you are putting something out at seeding, you're not really doing you a whole heck of a lot of good. You really have to wait till after seeding. And after that seed has came up and start to mature a little bit, and you got to get enough leaf there for it to actually be absorbed by the plant. So I would put out a fungal application probably at that 1-inch height. Okay. That way, when you apply it, it can get into that leaf blade and actually start working. All of your fungicides that you have for home lawn care, basically, they actually get through the plant called with the xylem. Okay, you have the xylem that goes up, they have a phloem that goes down. Very few fungicides, there's only one fungicide I'm aware of in turfgrass that actually goes through the phloem, and it's not labeled for home lawn use. It's actually for pythium control. You can put it on commercial and golf courses and things of that nature, but it's not labeled. You can't use it. So I'm not even going to mention it here. So anyway, the main thing is you get a good spray volume out. See the label on that. And you also need to get good coverage so it's absorbed by the leaf. Okay, that's why. So putting out a granular is not a bad move. You do need that leaf blade to be a little bit moist when you put it down. I would put it down to 1-inch height, okay, of your new seedling so it can actually be absorbed by the leaf. Roots will absorb some of this as well and translocate it up through the xylem of the plant. So I have seen pythium. Okay, that's actually in the Penn State publication down below. Here's a couple pictures. There's also a little bit of brown patch going on with, and you can also have pythium root rot. Anoxystrobin does not have the plant growth regulator characteristics, if you will, as a propiconazole product. Basically, here's propiconazole. Here's the anoxystrobin products that I have on my Amazon storefront. If you guys have used propiconazole, it's not the end of the world. Not going to hurt things too much. It's just better off with an anoxystrobin product. In addition, propiconazole, as I say in the disease video, does not control pythium. Anoxystrobin does. That should pretty much take care of really any issues that you have with new seedlings. And as I said in my fall video, I also help you a little bit with snow mold. And then what I would do for you guys in their snow mold, I'm talking zone probably 6 and lower, down from 6 clear up to zone 3. Maybe some of you guys in Canada can't get a whole lot of this stuff. But anyway, you guys up north, anoxystrobin probably at the 1-inch height of your new seedlings, and then probably follow up with a propiconazole about 2 weeks before your first coverage of snow, and that should help you with snow mold. So that's fungal control after seeding. Okay, good spot to see. What about the bad spots? This is actually the backyard of my tall fescue ryegrass yard. And as you go, if you guys have watched the channel, I don't water the backyard of this yard. It's too much water to deal with. And I did, my overseeding video from 2025 and 2024 actually show you a mower blade in there that you can use. And I used it on these areas to get these areas addressed. Do a seed bed prep, takes all the dead leaf material off there, and I had quite a bit because we had such an incredibly hot and dry late summer. But I used Resilience 2 tall fescue back here, and it's coming in pretty well. I timed it perfectly because I did this on, I think, Monday evening, and now it's Saturday morning, and it has rained all week, and now we're getting a light rain right now. So I have been lucky. Timing is everything when you're dealing with real estate and turf grass. So anyway, let's talk about bad spots that did not come up. I talked about this again in my seeding video about how dry it was and what's going on and what's doing. And as I talked about in the germination segment of this video, you do have inhibitors that actually will keep that seed from germinating if the conditions are not correct. One option that you guys have in the north is dormant seeding. I am going to leave a publication from the University of Minnesota down below. What you can do on these spots for those of you that are particularly in zone 4 and zone 5, you can put down dormant seeding. I encourage you to read that publication from the University of Minnesota. It gives you some great guidance on this, but it is definitely worthwhile mentioning here. What you can do is you will need to remove any leaf material. If it didn't come in, you will need to remove all that and seed into that area. Ideally, you want snow cover to stay on top of that seed all winter. Most of you all in zone 4. I think we might have zone 3 here in the United States, but you guys in Canada, you got zone 3. You have snow cover all year. That is a viable option for you guys way up north, is a dormant seeding, and it will come into spring. It's sort of a part of the natural process of turf, really any grass is you have the seed, it's in the soil, and you come in the spring, then it germinates. As far as the rest of you, yeah, you could probably pre-germinate. I think that's probably not a bad move when it gets colder. I think that's more of a spring activity because I did do that this spring. I had a great deal of success with it. So you could go ahead and pre-germinate your seed. Please see that video. You need to switch your water out actually I do it every 12 hours, but every 24 hours to make sure that water gets in that seed. It will significantly help you with germination. But you do need to seed your areas that did not come in. It's probably related to the drought. While I'm talking about this, when you're fixing the areas that did not come in very well, if it's been more than 21 days on tall fescue and ryegrass, you probably have lost some seed. I would seed at probably about a half rate on those situations. Kentucky bluegrass, it's going to be longer. What I would do with Kentucky bluegrass is I would not put it out no more than probably a quarter pound per 1,000 square feet. Reason being is, and some of you guys may have done this, if you have overseeded, meaning you put too much seed down per 1,000 square feet, the turf can be stunted. And it really undermines the maturity of that grass and makes it more susceptible to just about everything, including fungus. We'll talk about that here in a second. So if you do see that, if you're really overseeding things too much, it's really going to stun it, and you're going to have more incidents of fungal issues, going to reduce its drought tolerance and its overall quality in general. So that's why you don't want to put a full amount down. Go ahead and seed a little bit, see what it does over the winter, and maybe we'll come in the next spring and maybe put a little bit down if needed. Okay, that is pretty much what to do after seeding and really into the fall. It goes a little bit into my fall prep video that I did, and I go in a little bit more to fungal control, particularly snow mold control in that fall video, the fall preparation video. And, basically this, as you can see, the stripes here in the yard, they're a little faint. I probably it's been raining all week, but I am mowing this with an Arthobot robot lawnmower, and on my Bermuda grass yard / tall fescue yard, I'm doing it with an Ecovax. If you guys want to see, I will leave a link here. If you guys want to check out my robot videos, if you guys are interested in those, it does make these nice little stripes. They're a little faint right now because I have fertilized the dickens out of this grass. Tried to get everything grown in and get everything greened up. So far, it worked out fairly well. So anyway, if you guys want to check that out. So that's what to do with your yard after seeding. I wanted to give some guidance because I'm seeing a lot on the Facebook page about disease, about when to stop watering, and what about we're doing with fertility. So check out the videos that I recommended on the page if you want to, particularly this winter. I'm probably going to try to start doing some podcasts and have some guests I got lined up here in the spring. So subscribe and hit the bell. If you do, you'll get videos. I try to keep things fairly topical. Right now, it's late September. I'm getting a lot of things on the Facebook page, a lot of questions. If you hit that bell, you'll at least get a notification, and it'll give you an idea of something you may need to be doing or something you need to be cognizant of. I did my drought video early this year and that helped a lot of guys out because they were facing what everybody else was saying, and feedback on Facebook feedback has been great and giving me video ideas on how to help you guys reach the goals of your yard. Anyway, I'm agronomist Greg Phillips. Appreciate you watching. Thanks.